This is a closeout presentation for the Catalyst site Collaborators list, which was a Fund 5 proposal in the Challenge Proposer Outreach. The proposal received $11,600, which at the time was 4,588 ADA, which is what was received. In terms of the proposal deliverables, so the intentions of this proposal was to create a list where potential collaborators from the ecosystem could join and share their Catalyst roles, their skills, their services, so they could find other people in the ecosystem to collaborate with on future proposals. In terms of the deliverables, this was really finding those skills and services identifiers and what those were, making that public in a GitHub repository to kind of collaborate on that, and then creating the database, data structures, back end and front end, so people could log in and sign up and make their profiles. In terms of the proposal outcomes, we delivered those kind of development steps that we intended, which is the being able to filter by the services, the skills, the community roles. And then you can see that that list on the left is the kind of each of those profiles that get added to that list. And then if you click down into any of those items, you'll see their kind of full profile. And at the moment, you can see that on the projectcatalyst.org/community site. In terms of addressing KPIs, so the challenge KPI we had was to increase the ideas submitted from new community members of the community. And in terms of our proposal kind of KPIs that we made was in the short term to kind of track the number of users using the collaborators list, and over the long term to track the interactions between collaborators. Now, in terms of the short term kind of KPIs, we had 599 people join the collaborators list by October 2023. And in terms of viewership, we had around 18K users come to the site over the last few years. And most of that came from Google search. In terms of the longer term objective, because we couldn't integrate with IdeaScale and do authorization, we didn't do any of the tracking on the interactions of collaborators, and we didn't kind of delve deeper into that area. In terms of the key learnings, the kind of key reason why this proposal didn't develop into more via some of the other proposals we had was due to the lack of availability of some of the open APIs and SDKs. So for instance, the IdeaScale data, there was no open API for that. We helped to kind of create a Lambda serverless wrapper for that, but that never got materialized and deployed. And then beyond that as well, we wanted to be able to kind of authenticate who owns what accounts. So then you could kind of make that kind of seamless integration between the two. And that would have enabled us to kind of track and understand what's kind of happening in between what we were doing on our site and also what was happening in the main process. The second kind of key learning we had, it was another kind of blocker, was the importance of a more collaborative product development process. So a lot of the things we were intending to work on were kind of blocked by the Catalyst team and what they were going to do from a dev perspective. And it was in the earlier stages, it was kind of difficult to work out what they were doing. It wasn't particularly clear or communicated very well. And over time, eventually they committed to kind of doing a Catalyst API. And it's only more recently, after a few years, that they started to kind of more realize that kind of ambition and create that kind of resource. So up until now, in the future, it's been a bit more difficult. So it has been improving over time, but that has been a historical kind of problem for us. So the key learning there is that process needs to be much more clear and communicated, so then people in the community and also in the Catalyst team can work with each other to make sure things can get executed as intended. In terms of future work, we have no future plans to work on this initial area of work due to that lack of availability of APIs and integrations and being able to create what we were intending to actually create the impact that could have been achieved. And the collaborators list itself in its current form will be taken down over the coming weeks due to that ongoing cost of maintaining the database. And this is partially just because of the limited impact it can generate right now. In terms of all the future work we do, that will come in the form of from the Web3 Association, which is focused on improving treasury systems. And we already have a number of resources that our other proposals have helped to fund. And finally, in terms of links, we have the projectcatalyst.org site, the /community page, which will be eventually taken down in the coming weeks, and then all of the kind of code behind the website, which is found on the GitHub repository. And that's it. Thank you for listening.